If you read it really well, you're able to move. That has to be instinctive. That has to be right away. There can't be any second guessing. There can't be any pausing on that. Otherwise, you're out. Salvador Perez is too good. I'll be honest with you. I'm watching it. I didn't like the play. It's easy to say you like it now. If he gets tagged out, the entire air out of the stadium is gone. But he did it so quickly, so instinctively, and he read it so well. He ties it up. Then with McGonigal on first base, Dingler, he doesn't just square it up. He smoked that ball. Miguel Garcia is a pretty good third baseman. And he wanted to get the hell out of the way. He wanted nothing to do with that bullet down the left field line. McGonigal, look at where he hits the bags. I know. It's more about, oh my gosh, is he going to get thrown out? I'm watching his feet. Those are perfect routes around the bases. You don't score on a play like that, taking not just, the extra base, but taking it in perfect stride. You don't score if you don't have your mind made up right away. It is full bore from the very get-go for him. And then Kenley Jansen comes out a little bit of a shaky ninth. Those things happen. Wiggled it out. 479th career save. And his third all-time. The only two relievers, closers, with more career saves are Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman. Game 2 is tonight. Jack Flaherty gets the call against Seth Lugo. All right. Red Wings is the Panthers tonight for the final regular season game for both teams. Detroit has dropped 5 of 6. They've lost 2 of the 3 meetings with Florida this season. It's not just the last game of the regular season. It is the last broadcast of the great Paul Woods' radio career. He is retiring after this game. He has called Stanley Cup championships. He has called heartbreak, and he has called exuberance on the radio airwaves for over 40 years. Amazing. What a career. What a career as a member of the Red Wings as a player and now as a broadcaster. And tough shoes to fill for certain. He will join us at 8:35 to talk about it. So I'm pretty excited about that. We had mentioned the NBA play-in games. And you look at it, and LaMelo Ball is a hero in Charlotte. And for good reason. He made the game-winning layup. He also committed a horrible foul just prior to that gave Miami a 126-125 lead with about 8 seconds left. But we'll forget about that. There's another piece here. 127-126 was the final, by the way. There's another piece here, and that piece is that he committed a foul on Bam Adebayo earlier. And, Eric Spoelstra was pretty pissed off about it, and you can understand why. Because Adebayo was out for the rest of the game at that point. Ball did have 30 points and 10 assists. Moussa Diabate had 14 rebounds. The Con-Can-Nipple loaded train was nothing special in his first ever play-in game. The kid who made a rookie record 3-point field goals made in a single season went 0 for 6 from deep, 2 for 12 overall, and just 6 points. He also was in foul trouble the entire night with 4 personal fouls. That shouldn't take away from what LaMelo Ball and Charlotte did. 127-126. They march on. Miami, in the meantime, their season comes to an end. Portland played Phoenix, and Phoenix was, it sure looked like they were in a comfortable spot. They were at one point, they were up 11. Portland staged a late comeback and won at 114-110 to advance. So the road team the lower seed, gets the job done behind, some amazing play, Drew Holiday included. Denny Avaja, 41 and 12 assists. A team that I quite honestly I didn't expect to win. I thought it was going to be Phoenix. And Devin Booker had 22. Dylan Brooks had 20. Didn't matter. Their season is over. Here's the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. And there's 2 more play-in games tonight, by the way. Who is the best young core in the state? This is something we were talking about a little bit yesterday. Best young core in the state. Is it the Lions, the Red Wings, Tigers, or the Pistons? Vote as often as you want. Andy McDonald, our friend, will tweet it out there, and I will retweet it at ShepMatt as well. Paul Woods at 8:35, so looking forward to that for sure. Just a few things about the Tigers. The Pistons are ranked by levels by a national website. We'll tell you where they're at in terms of players. A little bit more about the Tigers' victory last night and a really scrappy win. I'm not going to use the word grit because that's reserved too often for the Lions and now the Pistons, but it was a scrappy one. We'll talk about that on the other side here on X's and Bros as we get rolling on a Wednesday, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Stay with us.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com. Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan. What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. Obviously, the weather's warming up. Fans are coming out. And, in a game like that where there's a lot on the line, especially with a division rival, it's huge. It's huge, and the fans showed up.
Love that from Dylan Dingler. He has become, Andy, I believe, I think we can agree on this. I think he's become one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And he's done that quickly. I'm not saying he's the best, all right? I'm not getting hyperbolic here. So we've got to be careful. But I think he's becoming one of, key part of the phrase is one of the best catchers in all of baseball. He won a Gold Glove a year ago. He's flashing power. I said before the season began, I would love this guy to hit close to 20 home runs. I think if you get 20 home runs out of that spot, and a guy who's not going to play, catchers don't play every single day, but he's going to play the majority of it. It's not Jake Rogers. That's for damn sure. All right. So if that's the case, would you concur that he's one of the best catchers in all of baseball?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, since last year, I've kind of felt that way a little bit on the podcast I do with TVA. I constantly was saying going towards the deadline there. I was saying, not the deadline, the All-Star break. I was saying I felt like last year he had a shot to make the All-Star game. I felt like towards it because I thought with some of the other catchers' numbers in the AL, he definitely had a beef with a chance to be able to make it. Didn't make it, but seemed to only continue to be one of their, better players in the lineup every day. I feel like he's only done anything to continue that, if not look better so far this year.
Yeah, agreed. Last year would have been probably too early. Okay, would have been too early. We forget there are certain guys they're also pretty good. Shea Langoliers is a pretty good catcher in Oakland, whatever, the A's, Salvador Perez continues to shine. Look, Victor Carantini killed the Tigers. I'm not saying he's one of the best, but he's one of those guys that, you're gonna look at. Cal Raleigh, of course, a year ago. Not so much this year. He's off to he's batting like $150 or whatever it is. Salvador Perez isn't hitting very well right now either. Adley Rutschman, I think the best catcher, well, it used to be JT Realmuto. I think it's Will Smith now. Okay. But Dylan Dingler's in that mix. I look at his defense more than I look at his hitting. And yesterday had a chance to throw a guy out in the ninth and couldn't do it. It was a loop single to lead off the ninth and then a stolen bag. And Dingler couldn't get it done. However, he does have 3 homers. It's not the most. Drake Baldwin in Atlanta, pretty damn good player too. So not you, Andy, but I mean, we in general, fans, we live in a little bit of a prism. We watch our guy all the time. Are you looking at other players as much? Are you following, pick a guy, Logan O'Hoppe with the Angels? Are you really doing that? Or are you just going, hey, my guy won a Gold Glove a year ago and he's got 3 home runs?
No, sure.
How about that?
He looks good this year and everything. I just, last year going towards the deadline, I remember his average and the amount of people he had thrown out and stuff. There was just enough stats that I think he had a beef to be in the conversation to make the All-Star game in the American League. I do think there's better players than him, especially in the National League side. There's definitely a couple better catchers. If we're talking whole MLB, I don't think he's the best by any means right now. But
yeah,
I definitely think he's working towards being one of the better catchers in the league. And I don't know when people will start to talk about him more nationally, because it still feels like whenever people talk about the Tigers, they talk about Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson and stuff. I mean, this guy's starting to hit in the middle of their lineup, and he's been a pretty consistent player for them for the last year and a half now.
Here's what I would remind people, and this validates Andy's point. What numbers are you looking at? Try to get away from the average, okay? It's really hard to hit for a high average if you're a catcher. I mean, Johnny Bench, I think, is the greatest catcher of all time. He's a lifetime 267 hitter. Now, he hit 387 home runs, so there's a huge difference. And he's one of the most magical players with a glove, and he had the best arm perhaps you've ever seen. I mean, some may argue Benito Santiago. Some may argue Ivan Rodriguez. That's fine. Those are good debates. Dylan Dingler is number 4 in slugging and number 2 in WAR for catchers right now. It's a small sample size. Our point is he's trending up. He does the little things. We don't always see it. His handling of the pitching staff, his conversation with Kenley Jansen, how are you going to pitch to Jorge Soler? You've only seen him 5 times in his career. How are we going to do it? It's the little things. And then, of course, quickly after, what does he do? He gives the credit to Kenley Jansen. He gives the credit to others. If you're looking for, again, not too soon here, I'm asking you to watch. If you're looking for someone who might be a captain, a leader on this team, he's one of those guys. And not bad for a guy who started his college career in center field with the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean, last night, too, you want to talk about the little things. Like, towards the end of that game, Andy Urks did a good job bringing it up on the broadcast, but it was he throws that cutter a lot, Jansen does, and they had one out with the guy on third, and he called for that slider, and that kind of induced that soft ground ball. I feel like that wasn't the pitch he was expecting there. He was out in front of it. That's probably a pretty good call by Dingler there, too, if he's the one that made that call.
Yeah, the roller to third.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, remember, Jansen has to agree to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And therein lies the little detail.
True.
How often have they worked together? I know, through spring training and things of that nature. He's got to trust Dylan Dingler.
Absolutely. And you're talking about a guy that's definitely got a lot of accolades in this direction.
Absolutely. You know, he's going to be a Hall of Fame closer in all likelihood. Dingler is also third in all of baseball among catchers in RBIs. And he had the game winner last night. So it's just a few things that we look at. Here's the other thing that I noticed. With Javier Baez in center field, and some people may have been, oh, man, why didn't you dive for that bloop single, lead off the ninth, and so on and so forth. Look, he's playing back. You don't want extra base hits against you. He's playing back. That's a long run, all right? Detroit, I saw this a little nugget yesterday. The Tigers, when Javier Baez starts in center field, are 40-14 now.
It's crazy how those numbers work out, but I mean, it's he's proven that he can play out there. That's for sure. Yeah, I think that's a smart play by him. You're just talking about
so
right
do
there.
I.
Like
keep it in front of you, and you still got a double play possibly coming up.
You would maybe expect him to make the flare kind of play right there, and instead he keeps it in front of him. And I think that was really, really smart play.
I think he looks like a more responsible player in center field than he does at shortstop.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah. When he starts at shortstop, Detroit's record is 23-29. Since this has been, the possibility, whether he can play center field or shortstop. Now, I'm not saying he's the equivalent in defense to Parker Meadows, nor will he be the equivalent of Max Clark, who had 2 more hits last night, by the way, for Toledo. But he is a guy who is a responsible player out there. He's going to make oftentimes the simple play. At shortstop, that doesn't always happen. His footwork is not always great, and his arm angle gets messed up. But there's no reason to talk about that after a 2-1 win. It was a nice win for Detroit, for them to be able to get on a 4-game roll here and get a game within 500. All right. Minnesota was a winner again last night. I don't know how the hell they're winning, to be honest with you guys. I really don't. They've won 4 in a row as well, an 8 of 10, and they're atop the division. But hell, it's 18 games. Big deal, right? No big deal. The Pistons players ranked by levels. A CBS Sports website took every playoff player and ranked them by levels. So it's not a Seinfeld episode where Kramer's going to turn his apartment into levels. This is a website that says who's the best and who's way down here when it comes to the playoff performers and what their expectations are. What they said about the Pistons, and then a kind of a fun little game of the best trio in NFL history. We'll get to all that and more coming up on a busy Wednesday here with you on X's and Bros. The Meyer hotline is 866-838-4840, 4843. That's 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We're glad you're with us, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org. Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com. Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
mean, I went in with no expectations, to be honest. I went in just trying to be better than last year, not knowing where that would take us or what that would look like and how, to what extent it would go. But I'm pleased with where we're at. But I'm not really satisfied or anything. I think it's been a great year so far. Now we're where we want to be, which is the playoffs. So now the fun and all the real grind starts.
Yeah, I mean, his team gets ready for the playoffs starting this weekend. Still up in the air on who they're going to play, right? Even though Charlotte won last night. So we'll have to wait and see. But Cade Cunningham and the Pistons as the number 1 seed. How about that? Welcome back, X's and Bros. Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Before we dive into that, Andy, you're a big golf fan. You play. I play. We may not play very well, but we love the game.
Yeah, we try.
How often have you watched a live golf event?
I don't. Not because I'm not saying like I'm epically against it or anything or form some major opinion. I just don't really watch it.
Yeah, that's okay. Do you know which network airs it?
I could not tell you. No.
Yeah. Okay, so it's FS1 or FS2.
Okay.
There are we've always felt like, I think in sports, rivalries are important. Is that fair? I mean, people think, I don't know if they're trying to manufacture it, but the Pistons and Charlotte Hornets have not gotten along very well at all.
No,
right?
They have not.
Right. So they're trying. There's a stirring of emotion when you play them, and many people feel like this could be a budding rivalry.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, a lot of young players, and obviously what happened this year. I could see it.
People are wondering if there was, or when it started 3 years ago, when Live Golf teed off 3 years ago, they thought it could be a budding rivalry with the PGA. It has been anything but. In fact, there is something that has been tweeted out by Ryan French from Monday Q Info, golf sources, saying that I think everybody should probably stay near their phones. I have some pretty good sources, and I've heard that some other people have sources that Live is shutting down.
That's crazy.
He writes, I've got everything from, and these people that I can trust that you guys know, players didn't get paid today. Power went out because the bill wasn't paid. Employees didn't get paid and stuff like that. There's definitely something going on. Things are not good. Okay. When the Live event took place in Hong Kong in the middle of March, or early March, 6 through 9, where Sergio Garcia and his team, called the Fireballs, won the event, they drew 17,000 viewers. That's it.
That's
17,000. Can I put that in contrast for you?
Yeah, sure.
The Waste Management in Phoenix at the same time drew 2.9 million.
Yeah, there's a big despair there for sure.
That is a massive difference. Nobody is watching. Okay. Its debut event earlier this year on Fox pulled in 54,000 viewers on FS1 and another 31,000 on FS2. So the league saw an average of 12,000 viewers for the event.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed it was that low, to be honest.
That's how bad it truly is. That is scary stuff. So you have that as a problem. You have a problem that they were trying to merge. There was talk of them merging with the PGA. And if you recall, Rory McIlroy, who just won the Masters, came out and said you have to have two sides that actually want to get something done. It takes two to tango, I think was his phrase. That hasn't been good. Okay. So you're talking about a league where TV rankings are in the sewer. What's lower than a sewer? I don't know. But it's in that realm. There's no merger talk anymore. And you've got a lot of people starting to doubt whether the league is going to make it. Billions of dollars thrown out there. What's surprising, I think, as much as anything else, is that you would think a lot of people want big names. Live Golf has a lot of big names.
Yeah, they got a lot of people. I think that's the reason that people thought it would maybe get some traction when it first started.
Right. Here's my question. What do those guys do?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is Cam Smith and Phil Mickelson? What do those guys do? What is Sergio Garcia? Do they tail between the legs, go crawling back to PGA and say, I want to be I want to be let back in to the fraternity?
I feel like that's what they're going to have to do if they want to keep golfing at a level where they have a lot of eyes on them. What else are you supposed to do?
Yeah, where else are you going to go? I mean, seriously. What tour? What other tour can you go to? I mean, you can go to European tour. There's others, but not like this.
No, not to
survive your lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. That's a great question because
man,
I mean, you're put in a situation there, especially when you expected as a player to probably be there longer and make more money off of it and whatever else. That's a tough spot to be in.
Here's the other part that was a serious problem that maybe got overlooked. The biggest names on Live, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, just two of the biggest names. Neither one of them performed very well at the Masters, did they?
No, I would not call it a good year for the Live players.
Rahm finished inside the top 10 in 29 of his 30 Live Golf events. DeChambeau won twice on the Live Golf League already this season. And neither one of them were worth a damn at the Masters, for the most part.
No, myself included. I was one of the people believing that DeChambeau had been playing well and was going to be a good pick for the Masters. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I fell for that, I guess.
Well, look, you weren't alone there. That's okay. It's not like you fell for anything. It's not like this guy's not a good player.
Yeah, no, and on some of the other big events, he's done well too. So it just felt like he was going to. But
he's absolutely a great player. It's just, I mean, how are you to know that, Rory McIlroy was taking his private plane and flying to Augusta and playing as often as he wants?
Yeah, that's
going back and forth on his private jet.
That was probably the craziest thing to come out of any of those press conferences. I feel like is when he said that. That he was going back and forth and doing that.
Yeah. I wonder how other players feel about that.
I don't know. He basically just put the other tournaments to shame too that he talked about. It was just, it's basically just, those aren't important enough for me. So I went and did this because it's better for my time.
Yeah. I guess I understand. I'm just, can anybody else look, is there any rule against it?
If there's not, then fair game, I guess. He's not, because at that point, he's obviously got plenty of money if he's taking a private jet back and forth from places, but
yeah, he's not the jet, so he's got more money than he knows what to do with. But that's not our deal.
But he's not playing in those tournaments, I guess, to make more. So if it's his choice and it's not against the rules, I guess there's not anything actually wrong with it. It just sounds like an advantage when he says it out loud,
I don't know how it can't be viewed as an advantage. He knows the course inside and out, like he's a member there. And I wonder if something will be done about that. CBS Sports had an interesting article yesterday about the NBA playoffs, and they broke down all the players in the entire playoffs into 11 different tiers. Okay? They went from best of the best, and they're strict about this. And they went all the way down to tier 11 that states, and this is where you would think most of the players come in, but not necessarily, borderline playoff performers, okay? The Pistons, obviously, you're not going to, are you ranking every single player? Yes, they ranked every single player. We don't have to go through every single Piston. But when they say best of the best, how many players do you think are in that category? Best of the best.
For just the Pistons?
No, for just the NBA. And is there a Piston located in it? We're talking about the best of the best. There's only 3. They put Nikola Jokic. They put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And they put Victor Wembanyama. So right away, it bothered me. It did. It bothered me. I'm like, how do you not have Cade Cunningham in this? Cade Cunningham's in the next tier. The next tier is called capable of being the best player on a championship team. He's there with Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Maxey, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. Now, I try not to be too caught up in a moment here, but I think Cade Cunningham is better than most of those players, or at least his year has been better than most of those players. That's a lot of players, all right? And sure, there are certain guys, the late game heroics by Brunson, the reason the Clippers have surged is because of Kawhi Leonard. I get it. Steph Curry is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Kevin Durant is the same. I get all that. Tatum and Brown, right on, right? Maxey's been really good because Joel Embiid's an absolute slug, for crying out loud. Joel Embiid has missed more games this year or in the last year and a half than Alexander Ovechkin has missed in his entire career. I want you to think about that for a moment. The greatest goal scorer in the history of the sport, and a guy who is a for sure ballot Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, and one of the faces of his league, has missed fewer games than a former MVP in the NBA over a year and a half span compared to a career. It's absolutely nuts. Anyway, the write-up, the thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit, the whole write-up from CBS Sports is about the guys that I had already mentioned. The Maxies, the Browns, the Durants, and so on and so forth. Steph Curry. Very little on Cade Cunningham. They write about this. Cunningham's efficiency is dinged by the low spacing offense he plays in, but those aren't the worst conditions to prepare for the playoffs under. He spent the season getting used to opponents not guarding his teammates. That's all that he said. Therein lies, and the reason that I highlight that is because therein lies what many people are holding against the Pistons. Like, there's nothing against Adam Schefter. I think he's phenomenal at what he does when it comes to Football Insider. But for him to say the other day on ESPN, I think the Hornets are going to beat the Pistons. Adam, excuse me, okay? Get off your phone. You've been talking to NFL sources all summer long, or spring long. We get that, and we thank you for that. You're excellent at what you do. I would argue nobody's better than you at what you do. But just because ESPN is pushing Jeff Darlington as a Masters reporter and giving everybody else assignments in other sports doesn't mean that an NFL insider suddenly is going to be listened to about his golf or his basketball quote-unquote acumen. You want to pick the upset? Go right ahead. It's ill-advised because it's not happening. There is a groundswell of people in the national media who are just not, it's just not believed. They don't believe in the Pistons. Why? Not that it should matter to us, because you and I believe in them. But remember, you and I also watch them every night. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think...
Is it a good thing because you and I feel like we know this team? Is it a bad thing because we become way too close to this team and can't see its flaws like others can objectively notice?
I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible that side of it could be true, but I think that the Pistons just don't have the stuff that we, kind of talked about the last couple of days in the national media. They want more of the star power. They want more of the flash, the flair, that kind of stuff. And I just don't think the Pistons roster, besides Cade Cunningham, who they do talk about plenty on a lot of these shows, I feel like that's the only player that they always say they have him, but that it's not enough with just him. It feels like that's kind of the sentiment if people are going to take other teams against the Pistons. I don't think that's because we watch them too much. I think because we watch them that much, maybe we realize that they can win some of these games compared to what other people think. I don't I don't think it's a bias to say the number 1 seed in their conference is one of the best teams and isn't going to get upset by the Charlotte Hornets.
Understood. I do believe Jalen Duren is a star.
I think so too. I think he's a budding star and getting to that point. I think that other people don't see that as much, that are from outside the circle in this state, I guess.
Okay, well, this website did acknowledge that he's an imperfect star, and there's plenty of those, for crying out loud. It's not a knock per se, but there's plenty of those. I think that the problem people have is exactly what you said, but it has more to do with the offense than anything else. Even though those same people out of their pie hole on a regular basis will say defense wins championships.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
What you'll say is you've got Cade Cunningham, maybe Jalen Duren. They give that with a little bit of a wink of an eye, and everybody else. Wherein Boston is deep, and they've won before. Cleveland has Mitchell and Harden and Mobley that many people feel are is a solid trio, and to a certain extent I get it. The Knicks with Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who is not too dissimilar from Jalen Duren, except Towns can hit threes.
Yeah, I think you could easily make the argument that the Pistons have just as much there.
Yeah, but it's 2 instead of 3. That's what what they're deciphering there. The difference between, and you got to do this in any sport with any team. If you're going to say this team is better than the other, you're going to have to explain why. And if you start to use the number of quote unquote stars on your team, and you go to Boston and you say they've got Jaylen Brown and they've got Jason Tatum, and then they got a 3-point shooter in Peyton Pritchard, and they've got an Olympian in Derek White, suddenly you look at the depth and you think to yourself, Sam Hauser makes more threes. Sam Hauser is a guy who can come off your bench and really hurt the opposition because he makes 2.5 triples a game, right? And then when you come to the Pistons, you talk about 2 offensive guys, and then you lean on the defense because you're not bragging about Tobias Harris and his 15.5 points a game. It's as simple as that. Fair or unfair? Get your thoughts on that throughout the morning here on X's and Bros. Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. Text is Sports Radio 21,000. Paul Woods, the great color analyst on radio for the Red Wings for over 40 years, will join us at 8:35. A media-related website rated NFL fan bases. Where are the Lions? And could we see something happening with this Lions team as we move forward? We'll talk about all that and more in the second hour here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan. Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu. Huge here with a message for all the golfers all across Michigan. Have you played at Crystal Mountain? Now, the resort is located in Thompsonville, Michigan, 2.5 hours northwest of Grand Rapids. They feature Mountain Ridge and Betsy Valley, two renowned 18-hole championship layouts, incredible accommodations, food, beverages, and more. It's time for you to book a stay-and-play package at Crystal Mountain today. Go to crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
was a fast-moving first hour here on X's and Bros. Thanks for being with us. Always welcome your thoughts in the chat as well as we stream live on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook as well. Joe Gersma-Shep, you can comment on the last broadcast on the RSN, formerly known as Fox Sports Detroit, and what it has meant to you. Yeah, good, Joe. I appreciate that. Regarding the last broadcast regarding the Red Wings. So Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond will continue, though. That's the difference. So for me, and this is just my personal opinion, and I like things that are the same. If it's good, I don't think you necessarily need to change it. So personally, I miss, certain staples that are there. John Keating, Trevor Thompson, the engagement that you have. I think Trevor Thompson, he's a friend of mine. So there's a little bit of, nostalgia and biasness here. But he knew that team exceptionally well. And they knew him. And they liked him. And it was decades of really good stuff. It's a good broadcast. Not that it's a bad broadcast now. I just don't have the same attachment with certain people. So I miss that part of it. I miss being part of it. I miss sitting at that desk, and I've called plenty of Red Wing games over my career, filling in for Ken. I've actually filled in for Ken Callan Red Wings radio broadcasts in the past as well. But I enjoyed sitting at that desk and talking with Larry Murphy and talking with Jimmy Howard and talking with Chris Osgood and talking with guys who are no longer there. All right. And I think what you have now is at times stuff that is forced. I just don't think it's as good. So you're still going to get that on their Detroit sports network. I just don't feel like it's the same. But we adapt and we move on. I'm sure a lot of people felt that way about Pass. Okay? So you just kind of move on and you see the game is the most important thing, Joe. You and I both know that. I mean, for the Red Wings, Mickey Redmond is a treasure. We're lucky to have him. He's awesome. At some point, we all have to prepare for new analysts, moving through. Look how great Kirk Gibson was for years doing Tigers baseball. Now you get something different, if you like it. So with the Red Wings, it's one of those situations where you're getting some new guys in there every once in a while. We've heard a little bit of Stu Grimson this year. I thought he did a pretty good job. Saw some Danny DeKaiser, did a pretty good job. Chris Osgood has gotten much, much better, right? But Mickey Redmond makes the game so enjoyable. And I love that he's between the benches in the third period. But let's be honest. I mean, the team makes it. The team makes the broadcast. Is it a worthwhile watching team? That's what you have to ask yourself. Okay? So I think that is it more than anything else. I think the bigger question is where the Pistons are going. What's going to happen with the Pistons? Are they going to continue to stay? Because I doubt they're going to be on the Detroit Sports Network. That is an Illich sports and entertainment-driven network. And you run into issues there if the Pistons are indeed on that network, because what's going to take precedent? Well, of course, the Red Wings will. Then where do the Pistons go? And when you get spring training, and I would guess they'll be televising more spring training games because they need programming. Why wouldn't you go down there and broadcast as many as you possibly could? I would. If I'm that network and I've got an open date and my Red Wings team isn't playing, I'm broadcasting as many Tigers preseason games as you can possibly get. Where do the Pistons go? They're going to be second, at times third fiddle to what the other teams are playing. So I think that's the bigger question. But thanks for the comment, Joe. Appreciate it as always. And thanks for watching, streaming on YouTube, on X, and or Facebook. There are certain fan bases. We like to think we're among the best fans in all of sports. We think that, I think a lot of us, is because we're one of the rare markets that delivers both college and professional teams with unbelievable passion. Would you say Detroit is a pro sports town or a college sports town? It's a good debate. You can have the debate. But what's great about it is there's a third option. And the third option is both. You don't have many markets in America that are like that. Some markets aren't either. I find it hard to believe that Miami's a hockey market or a basketball market or a football market. There's too many other things to do. It's not a knock on our area because we love our summers. People love their boats. They love their country clubs. They love their golf. All of that. I get it. But they love their sports too. And they love their pro and college sports. See Michigan's basketball championship run. See college football every Saturday in East Lansing, in Ann Arbor, in Kalamazoo, in Ypsilanti, in Mount Pleasant, and various other places, even Toledo to a certain extent, right? And they draw well for college football. We love our college basketball. Ask people at the Breslin Center or Chrysler Center, okay? But we also love all the things that go on with our professional sports teams, and rightfully so. So the fan base is one of those prideful fan bases, without a doubt. ASC Sports Media ranked their NFL fan bases by category. I want you to tell me, Andy, where you think Detroit falls. Ready? Die hard no matter what. Psychopaths. Hate them, but they're loyal. Quality fans. Hate themselves every morning or nowhere to be seen.
It has to be one of the names of those categories.
Yes. Let me repeat them.
Yeah, sure. That's a lot.
Okay? All right, I know. Die hard no matter what. Psychopaths. Hate them, but they're loyal. Quality fans. Fans who hate themselves every morning or nowhere to be seen. There are 6 categories.
I would go diehards no matter what. That's what I would think that people think.
Diehards no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of good sports towns would say the same. Here's what this website put. Diehard no matter what is Kansas City. Would you agree with that? Green Bay. Absolutely
Sure.
agree with that.
No doubt.
Pittsburgh. Absolutely agree with that. Cleveland. I do agree with that. And the Raiders.
Yeah.
There's your diehard no matter what. No Lions. It's Kansas City, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and the Raiders.
So what are they? Probably wake up and hate themselves every morning, or psychopath?
You'll see.
I think it's got to be one of those two.
Psychopaths. Buffalo, Dallas, and Philly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Philly for sure, but
hate them, but they're loyal. Chicago, Minnesota, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, and New England. Yeah. I thought that's where I would have put Detroit. Quality fans. Tennessee, Baltimore, Cincy, the Giants, Saints, Dolphins, Colts. What? First of all, Saints are an underrated fan base. It's really all they have. They lost their stadium to a hurricane. So I think they're more psychopaths. Hate themselves every morning. Cardinals, Jets, Washington, Carolina, Atlanta, and Detroit. If you're going to put hate themselves every morning, shouldn't you put Cleveland in that? They could almost double dip with Cleveland. And then nowhere to be seen the Chargers, the Rams, Texans, Buccaneers, and the Jaguars. There's your breakdown, at least according to ASC Sports Media. When we come back, a passionate plea from a coach in the National Hockey League. We'll get to that on the other side. This is X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network, brought to you by Meijer.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Welcome back. Our friend Freddie, as always, active with us in the text chat. Text Sports Radio 21,000, and you can jump on board as well. Except the last 10 minutes of that Charlotte game, their coach left their star player, rookie shooter, on the bench. That team is littered with shooters. Yeah, he left Con Knippel there because he was 0 for 6 and 2 for 12, and he had 4 personal fouls. He wasn't playing well. That's always a good debate. A struggle within a coach's mind. Do I play the guy because of what he's done? Or do I sit him because of what he's doing? The easy thing to do is when they lose, you should have played him. But if he's out there and he's missing shots, why do you keep playing him? You got to know the player. You also have to have a feel for the game. His team was doing just fine. Hitting some big threes down the stretch. Shep, how about the Columbus head coach yesterday saying if he was back, things will change. These players don't care. That's Rick Bowness. Remember how good Columbus was until they lost their last 6 home games, their last 2 games overall, but the last 6 in front of their home crowd. Here's what Rick Bowness, this is what Freddie's referring to. Here's what Rick Bowness said following the 2-1 loss last night to Washington.
No. And you know what? All you got to do is look at the stat sheet. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. Like, I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them. Like, how can you go out and play like that? Should have done this about a month ago. But this is why we are where we are. This is why we're in the playoffs. That kind of effort. You have to hate losing. I don't care if it's a meaningless game. I don't care. Show up and compete. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. What else you want to know?
That's some really good stuff right there.
Dude, be honest. Do you not love listening to hockey coaches and their passion?
It's the best.
More than any other coach?
It's the best. I couldn't agree more.
He's right. They had 23 giveaways.
How would you not want your coach saying that?
I know.
That's awesome.
Now, in fairness, his team also had 7 takeaways. So I guess the plus minus is really a minus 16. But the point is, that's not enough. You know what? His team lost in the faceoff draw. His team had 3 hits. Washington had 14. That's the frustration that he has. In other words, and you've been eliminated. Show up and play. It's the only sport. I got to be careful here. Is it the only sport today? Think about it for a minute. Where coaches are willing to call up players publicly? Who else does that?
Yeah.
Seriously, think about it. Who else does that? Have you heard? I don't want to be too caught in a moment here. So I'm literally asking for your help. Have you heard of a basketball coach doing that to their team this year? Any of the sound bites?
No, not to that extent either.
Have you heard of any baseball manager doing it yet? No. I have not. Okay.
No.
Do you recall a football coach saying anything about certain players?
I'm sure that I gotta imagine maybe something.
Mike Tomlin may have said it during the season.
I feel like there's definitely
we don't hear it as frequently though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you and I hear Todd McClellan say it
all the time
because the Red Wings have been stinking up the joint.
Last month and a half. I think there was at least 3 instances.
If you want to see one of the best rips of any audio bites you can find in coaching history, go look at John Tortorella. I don't care if he's in Philly, in Tampa, in New York, now in Vegas. Go to YouTube, and you're streaming us live on YouTube, I hope. Go to YouTube and just type in John Tortorella rants. Grab a box of popcorn, grab a cold drink, sit on your couch, keep the TV off, and enjoy. You're going to have a lot of fun. Trust me when I tell you that. So that's a good one. Shep, is Scott Harris ever going to make a trade for a big right-handed bat? It's a great question. The obvious answer is I don't know. The second obvious answer is I doubt it. He probably feels pretty damn good with what he has right now. I would guess. I don't think it's enough, personally, power-wise. Again, I'll ask you, where's the power on this team? You may not like this, but that's the way baseball oftentimes is played these days. Angels had back-to-back-to-back homers last night, and they beat the Yankees. A couple nights ago, Aaron Judge went yard twice. Mike Trout went yard twice. It's an unbelievable game. I mean, high scoring. I think the final was 12-11. Won it in overtime on a wild pitch, for Christ's sake. But anyway, the Yankees did. Where's the power? The power's in Carpenter and Green. You hope in Torkelson. Haven't seen it yet. Dingler? Is that enough? 2 from the right, 2 from the left. Is it enough?
You'd hope if, the majority of their games that they've had this year, with not enough runs going into the deadline, you'd hope that maybe he would think something different about that. And the only thing that gives me any reason to think is they did go out and pay for a pitcher, but they did sign Gleyber Torres back for as much money as they signed him, which I don't know if that was the right decision. I mean,
well, they did. I mean, Gleyber Torres took the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
The qualifying offer is $22 million.
That's
okay.
True. Yep.
Which is crazy. But even if he weren't in the lineup, you would have one of your younger guys there. It would be Colt Keith or somebody like that. Okay.
Sure.
You signed Framber Valdez, fine. Big contract for a lefty. Where's the right-handed bat going? That's the other thing you've got to ask yourself. Are you moving off first base? That's one of your power guys. Are you moving off second base? You're paying him $22 million. Are you moving off your rookie shortstop? Hell no. Are you moving off Colt Keith at third base? Probably not. He's been your best contact hitter. Are you moving off anybody from your catcher? No. In the outfield, are you moving off left field? No. Center field, perhaps, but there's not many right-handed power-hitting center fielders. Are you moving off anybody in right field? You're going to find a right-handed stick with power to play right field. And Kerry Carpenter moves to DH only. You could do that, right? And then you got to find that right-handed stick.
Yeah, I don't think that's
and then there's the DH position. You could do that.
I think that's why you got to give it time to let itself play out anyway. I think a lot of people would tell you if Torkelson doesn't figure it out by the deadline, that'd be somewhere they want to be looking for it too. But
at first base, yeah. It's hard to be patient at this time of the year if your team's not playing really well. I mentioned Pete Alonso the other day. It's a big contract, man, with a power right-handed stick. Where is it? It's nowhere to be found right now. So Baltimore's got to be pretty frustrated with that. It is a good question, though. I am hopeful. I just wanted it before this year. That's all. Shep, I was shocked to see Bruce Koepka had 6 majors. I think he's only got 5. Bruce Koepka has won the U.S. Open twice and the PGA Championship 3 times. He's only got 9 PGA Tour wins. I think he's only got 5 majors. I could be wrong there. Andy can help me with that. How many majors does Bruce Koepka have? I thought he had 5. Anyway, I had forgotten. Talk about a guy that's ruined his legacy just for the money he already had. I don't know if he's ruined his legacy. It's taken a hit. There's no question about that. He was viewed as one of the greatest golfers in the world with the various other big names. And when he went to LIV, because we had this conversation about LIV earlier in the show, when he went to LIV, I think a lot of people forgot almost who he was.
Brooks has 5 championships.
He has 5.
Yep.
5 majors. That's still a lot. I mean, Rory is viewed as the second greatest golfer in the world right now. He's only got 1 more than Brooks Koepka does. But he's got the full majors. He's got the 4 majors. Koepka only has the U.S. Open only and the PGA Championship. He's never won a British or an Open Championship. He's never won a Masters. Quick timeout. We're brought to you by Meijer. More on the other side of X's and Bros on a Wednesday morning.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
That was great. Obviously, I was on deck for that play, and, it was kind of a weird play. Didn't know where the ball was, but Zach, before you know it, was hustling down the line. It's a great baseball player, great baseball play.
Dylan Dingler talking about Zach McKinstry scoring from third on the ball that's in the dirt. It really wasn't a pass ball. Because it's in the dirt, it's a wild pitch, which I've always thought needed to be tweaked just a little bit. But if the ball touches the dirt, then everybody's going to mark it a wild pitch. Salvador Perez couldn't find it, which is very strange. It didn't bounce that far away from Salvador Perez. But McKinstry instinctively knew right away. If he hesitates at all, he's out. He didn't and scored. That was the game-tying run. And then the Dylan Dingler double down the left field wide line. Kevin McGonigal hitting the bag at second and third at the perfect angle and scoring with ease on that double into the left field corner, giving Detroit a 2-1 win last night.
I'm not sure if you get the chance to see this, if you can go back and watch the play where McKinstry scored there. You got to watch Dylan Dingler run out of the batter's box when you realize that McKinstry's coming home. It's probably the fastest I've ever seen somebody sprint away from the home plate to get out of the way.
It's the little things. It's not just that. It's the communication when you do that. Are you telling him to slide? Are you recognizing things that need to be done? Are you helping your teammates?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things they work on a regular basis. They're religious about it. We don't always pick it up because we can't always hear it. And we always don't notice it because we're watching where the ball is and what the player is. A lot of times what I've learned in working with so many past great athletes is I watch things away from the ball. Doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, whatever. Basketball, I'm rarely watching the basketball. If I'm calling a game, I'm watching it. You have to. I watch away from it. Who's doing something away from the ball? Watch hockey. Easy to watch the guy with the puck. Watch the other guys who are trying to get open, doing something to create space for their teammate. Basketball is very similar in that regard. That's why I love watching the line in football. In baseball, I rarely watch the pitcher. If I'm attending a game or I'm watching a game, I like to, it's tough on TV because they're focused only on the pitcher and catcher, and you can understand why. But I like watching where players set up. Different pitches might take a slight move. They might recognize what's about to happen and walk their way to back something up. It's the little nuances of the game that I think are really important. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Join us in the chat on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook as well. There's a belief out there as you get closer to the NFL draft, and you and I are both pumped about that, super excited. Next week, we're going to attack it with great vigor. But there are some who believe that, there are so many options for the Lions. One of the names I've heard, and I know you have too, because you're following it like I am, is Jermod McCoy. Do you know who he is? He's the cornerback out of Tennessee. There's a lot of people who like him. He gets high grades. He's considered the second best cover corner in the entire draft. Mansour Delaney, LSU, is number one. Then it's Jermod McCoy, and then Chris Johnson from San Diego State. For the most part. Not everybody may be on the same page, but that's the way it is. McCoy's only 21 years old. He started his career at Oregon State. Actually had his first career interception against Fernando Mendoza, who was at Cal at the time. Transferred to Tennessee. And at Tennessee, as a sophomore, he was an All-American. He had 13 passes defended. He had 4 picks. People saw him as a fast riser in college football. His junior year, he tore his ACL. He didn't play last year. He's associated with the Lions. With a lot of teams, but could be in the mix for the Lions. Thumbs up or thumbs down if the Lions drafted Jermod McCoy. Patient, agile, great balance. He's got great speed, shows great awareness, finds the ball quickly, moves his head. The takeaways for the most part, if there are no concerns with his knee, he should be a starter from day one. What if the Lions drafted him? You know what you would hear? What would you hear?
Oh,
Why?
people would ask why. Yeah, there you go.
Well, why does Brad Holmes insist on drafting injured players?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think people would definitely immediately point to that when you bring that up.
I think so too. And I think they have every right to, by the way. Now I would ask you this. What if they drafted Akeem Messidor? He wears number 3 for Miami. Miami had 2 bookends. Big reason why they got to the national championship game is obvious. Reuben Bain Jr. on one side, number 4. Akeem Messidor on the other, number 3. Watch their tape. Watch their games. Both of them are wrecking balls. And both of them are considered top 5 edge rushers in this draft. What if they drafted Messidor? I bet you most Lions fans would embrace that with both arms and both legs. They would jump into one another, hugging themselves and saying, we've got the guy we've always wanted opposite of Aiden Hutchinson.
I think the Lions draft room might look the same too.
You're right. But here's what they would miss. He's had surgery on his left foot and his right foot, and he's had a bad shoulder.
I feel like sometimes people put some of that stuff, even with the injury stuff behind it, if it's that position of need, that they think about all the time. And that's definitely one of them.
That's my point.
Yep.
Exactly right. That's my point. Yep. My point is, it doesn't matter if it's filling the need you feel is most dire. Now, don't you think a lot of people feel like you better fix the cornerback situation? I mean, if you drafted McCoy, if you drafted Jamal McCoy out of Tennessee, and he was your first day starter, and you would expect him to be at 17, you have a first-round pick in Terrion Arnold, big question mark because of a lot of different things, and DJ Reed at the opposite corner, who you gave a free agent contract, a big free agent contract to. He's one of your top 5 paid players, highest paid players. What would you do? I mean, it's a good problem to have, isn't it? Not to mention the fact that you've signed Roger McCreary, you drafted Enos Rakestraw, you've got depth there. I think there's a lot of Lions fans who would suddenly also say, well, wait a minute now. What are we going to do at tackle? What are we going to do at edge? It goes back to what we've said for a long time. That is needs. There are a lot of them. How you prioritize them and how I prioritize them might be different than how Brad Holmes prioritizes them, but he's a big believer in drafting for best player available. BPA. I am too. If Jermod McCoy is highest on their board at 17, do you take him over a Messidor, over a Blake Miller, or a Monroe Freeling? Let's reiterate. This is a team that has 9 draft picks. Now, I'm not saying 2 6ths or a 6th and a 7th are going to be impact players like 1 and 2. But you do have a chance just because on day 1, if you only take the 1 player and you're only getting another player on day 2 because that's the 2nd round, you have no 3rd round. How satisfied are you going to be? I've said this ad nauseum. I'm not always right about it. A lot of these players that you're looking at and breaking down, they've been injured. Blake Miller hasn't. He started 54 consecutive games for Clemson. That tied a program record. He was part of more snaps than any other player in the history of that football program. And he's only missed 1 practice in his entire career, according to coaches and sources. I don't know how often they chart that on what you're missing and what you're attending, but that's something that I do believe that is pretty pretty important. I'm not saying you take a guy just because he hasn't been in the IL or he hasn't been in the trainer's office as often as another guy. But that seems to be a pretty common theme when it comes to the Detroit Lions, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about a guy being in the field. Like, nobody can help injuries for the most part, but it's like it feels like if you're able to be in the field that much and care about being in the field that much, that kind of says a lot about the player that you're bringing into the organization too.
100%. I did see a website the other day that said trade up or trade down, or are they staying put? In all likelihood, what is this team doing? Are they trading up? Are they trading down? Or are they going to stay right where they are? So, for example, the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. They're going to stay put, and they're going to draft Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza, they should already have the card written out, and they should go right to Roger Goodell. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pittsburgh. This is the National Football League draft. We're excited to be here all weekend long. Teams have 5 minutes in between picks. The Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock. Oh, sorry, they have their pick in. And with the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana. That's how quickly it should take place.
It'd be great if they all went that quick too. But
exactly. I get it when you get into later rounds. I even get it when you're later in the first round. You're going to use a little bit more time. We also have to understand there are oftentimes phone calls being taken and draft considerations being discussed too.
It seems like plenty of that will go on in the Lions room just because of how many trades they've made in the past, and they seem to always be pursuing that.
So trade considerations are being discussed. I get why they sometimes you use up the full allotment. Anyway, immediately, what do you and I do? We of course go down to 17. What do they view the Lions as possibly doing? Trading up is what they write. The Lions are sitting on 9 draft picks, including an extra 4th from the David Montgomery trade, and have been one of the most aggressive teams both on the field and in the draft. So just to what you said. Now, personally, just because you got a 4th-round pick from David Montgomery doesn't mean you package it just to move up. Like somebody said to me the other day, I could see them trading Sam Laporta. Injury concerns. Eventually, he's going to be up for a big contract. You trade him, and you move up in the first round with a team that you traded him to. Kansas City is a name that has come about. You trade him to Kansas City, you get the 9th overall pick, and you get perhaps, an extra pick, a 4th-round choice. Great, but what are you doing at 9? Are you taking Sadiq out of Oregon? All you're doing is getting rid of your tight end and replenishing them. Where is the need that's being addressed is what people want to know. Anyway, I digress. Perhaps they leapfrogged the Ravens to get a top interior offensive lineman. Maybe they really want another tackle after Taylor Decker's departure. Maybe one of the top edge defenders falls a bit, and Detroit wants to scoop him up. Same for cornerback. Remember, the Lions once traded up from 32 to 12 to select Jameson Williams. Okay. All fair points. Excellent points. Who's the edge that you would trade for? For me, it would be David Bailey. Who's the interior offensive lineman you would trade for? For me, it would be Olavenga Ioane. I think he's the best interior offensive lineman. He's the guard out of Penn State. Is he better than Jake Slaughter as a center? He's the center out of Florida. Yes, he is. Is he better than Chase Bisontis, the guard out of Texas A&M? Yes, he is. He's clearly the best interior offensive lineman. I don't know if that means he's better than Francis Mauigoa, the tackle out of Miami, or Spencer Fano, the tackle out of Utah. I doubt they're trading up that highly to get a Monroe Freeling, who might be there. And Freeling, Proctor, Blake Miller, very similar. Although Freeling has far fewer starts than the other two. And if it's the cornerback, we were just talking about McCoy from Tennessee. Those are the positions. I don't think they're moving up for Dalen Thieneman, who's the number 1 safety in this NFL draft. He's the kid out of Oregon and a really good player. Started his career at Purdue. If you may remember him a little bit. although he's second to Caleb Downs, and Caleb Downs is the best safety. Would you trade that high for a safety? Would you trade up to get a guy like Caleb Downs, who might be the best player in the draft, but he's going to be a top 5 pick?
I mean, yeah, best available. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible they would do something like that because they seem to like the draft that way.
Yeah. I guess what I would ask is, when does it stop? I mean, at what point would it stop against a certain player that allows you to say, yeah, that's a guy I would not trade up for? So would you trade up for a Mansour Delaney? He's considered the best corner. You probably would. Would you trade up for the best interior offensive lineman, the best edge rusher?
The best of their position, it's tough not to unless it's the position they have. Like if it was for a wide receiver, I think everybody would go crazy if they did something like that, right? Or if it was like, so that's you can take that kind of stuff out. But for the positions that they do need help at, if you're going to get the best at your position and it's not like the craziest trade you've ever heard of, then I think it'd probably be fine.
Well, here's the thing. It's all in the eyes of the beholder. And I think a lot of people will be upset. Look, there are some people he's never going to please right now.
Exactly.
Just because of what he's done recently. They're not going to be happy with the way Brad Holmes approaches the draft, even though 2 years ago, just two drafts ago, people could not get enough of it. But they're going to be they felt burned by the following draft, and they're still wondering about last year because they didn't see the impact from Tyleik Williams. Jared Goff was sacked more in his career than ever before, and Tate Ratledge is associated with that, whether you like it or not. And they didn't really utilize Isaac Tesla. There's your top 3 picks right there. A less than impactful dude, a guy who was part of a group, guilt by association, that wasn't good enough, and took a massive step down and replaced a guy who was an all-pro and a wide receiver who didn't get on the field enough for enough snaps for one reason or another. So I think people are going to be a little upset about that. So how he approaches this draft and who he takes, if, and this is a big if, he were to move up in the draft, depends on that player that he chooses and the position in which he plays. Now, I'll say this. There are a lot of people who truly believe that Detroit could trade down and get an extra first. Do that, and you might please a lot of people because of the depth at tackle and the depth at edge. You get them both knocked out in the first round, and then in the second round, you go after your safety or your corner. I think a lot of people would give you a double thumbs up on that. Paul Woods has had an outstanding radio career. He's going to join us at 8:35. Tonight is his last radio broadcast of his career when the Red Wings take on the Panthers. It's got to be emotional for him. We'll talk with him at 8:35 on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by Meijer.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Ferris Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
brought to you by Avello Airlines and AvelloAir.com. I saw this the other day, and I found it interesting. And in case you missed it last night, Tigers win 2-1 over the Royals. Kenley Jansen with his 497th career save. That's third all-time in the history of the sport. Only Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman have more. But Detroit scored 2 in the 8th to get it done. A wild pitch that allowed Zach McKinstry to score, and a RBI double by Dylan Dingler, who continues to impress. Dylan Dingler really good. Colt Keith really good. Kevin McGonigal really good. I said to somebody yesterday, I don't know if people are aware of this. I said, but, for every game Detroit has played, and it's 17 games, Riley Green had been on base every single game until last night. He went 0 for 3. Did not get on base. So his on-base streak was snapped. Had some guys off to pretty damn good starts, including, as I mentioned, Colt Keith, who continues to excel. Last night, he did not start. He was used as a pinch hitter, which is interesting how A.J. Hinch uses his lineups. I mean, just because the guy's red hot like that, if he thinks it's a better matchup for somebody else and feels like he's got to get somebody else in there, then he'll do just that. If you missed it in the NBA, Charlotte was a thrilling overtime winner on a hoop from LaMelo Ball. And Portland, you want to call it an upset, won in Phoenix. So they're moving on. Red Wings visit the Panthers tonight. Final game of the year. Final game of Paul Woods' broadcast career. I think he's a Michigan radio broadcast Hall of Famer, if there is such a thing. I don't even know if there is. Anyway, he's been doing it for over 40 years. It's got to be emotional. He's a guy I've been very fortunate to work with in the past. He's a wonderful man, and he does a hell of a job. I don't know if there's anybody more. He's an absolute hockey freak. He watches everything. You talk about a guy who's got a lane, it's hockey, hockey, hockey for Paul Woods. And you can tell during the broadcast. He's going to join us at 8:35. Get his thoughts. Tomorrow, Eric Hosmer will join us, Kansas City TV analyst. Looking forward to that. So make sure you're tuning in. Here's our Mitch Lions Wealth poll question. Poll question is, who is the best young core in the state? The Lions, the Red Wings, the Pistons, or the Tigers? Vote as often as you want. You can follow me on Twitter at ShepMatt or follow the program at XB Mornings. We've retweeted it, and we invite your feedback. You can also give us feedback in the chat on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook. So feel free to do that as well. I was as Andy and I do, and we get ready for the show. We're always looking at various websites. We're looking for different stories. You're following social media. What are people interested about? I found this interesting. There's a list, Basketball Reference, Hall of Fame probability of players who are in the game right now. There are 12 active NBA players near locks for the Hall of Fame, based on Basketball Reference Hall of Fame probability, okay? You ready? When I say the name, Andy, tell me the guy who's a question mark. Okay? Here
Sounds
we go.
good.
LeBron James. 100%, right?
Yeah, it's not a question mark.
Kevin Durant. 100%.
Yeah.
Steph Curry. 100%.
Yep.
James Harden. I don't know if it's 100%, but he's viewed as a Hall of Fame player.
For sure.
Russell Westbrook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, it's Basketball Reference Hall of Fame probability. Westbrook at 99.9%. Nikola Jokic. He's at 99.8%. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 99.8%. Damian Lillard, 99.5%. Paul George, 97.8%. Kyrie Irving, 97.5%. Kawhi Leonard, 97.5%. Now I'm going to give you the one that is paralyzing. You ready? Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
When I say what do you think
That's
of that?
When you say Anthony Davis, I just think of how many games has he missed. Right. That's the first thing I think of every time.
Dude, he is at 99.86%, the same as Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's absolutely crazy. I mean, like, how many years in a row now has it been where he hasn't played has he ever played a full season in the
NBA? He has not. He's never played 82 games. So we're talking about the last 3 seasons, 42, 9, and 20. Those are the games he's played.
That's crazy.
Last time he's played a decent season was 2024 when he played 76 games. Now, here's the only thing I would ask you, if you can keep an open mind. Close your eyes, and if I tell you that this player, who I've yet to name, is a 10-time All-Star, an NBA champion, an All-Star MVP, a 5-time All-NBA performer, a 5-time All-Defensive Team performer, and a 3-time blocking champion. Oh, and by the way, he was also put on the NBA's 75th anniversary team. Would you say he's worthy of Hall of Fame consideration?
It definitely consideration. I mean, it's a lot of accolades. I think it's just more. I think
he's
of that
won an NBA title though.
Sure,
he's won an NBA title. Okay.
Some of that might be recency. I guess why we feel that way, but
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking you, if I gave you that resume, do you look at that player as a Hall of Fame player?
Absolutely. If it was blind and you don't know anything else about him, and that's what he has to his name, you're gonna put him in the Hall of Fame. Sure.
That's Anthony Davis.
Yep.
So I just gave you Anthony Davis's, and that does not include, by the way, some of his international accolades. All right. So I get the reputation certain players have. I made the mistake over the weekend. My nephew is a huge 76ers fan. I have no idea why. He loves numbers. Okay. That's why he loves the 49ers. Whatever. God forbid it's because of Joe Montana or Roger Craig or Jerry Rice or Ronnie Lott or Steve Young.
I think that might be a new one for me. Likes him because of the numbers in the name.
Yeah. So he likes the Sixers. So he's a big Joel Embiid fan. And I said, Joel Embiid has missed more games in his career than he has played, 490 games he's played. I said, it's awful. I said, he stinks. He's like, he stinks. And then you got to remind yourself without trying to get too emotional. Dude's won 2 scoring titles. Dude's been an MVP. He's been a 5-time All-NBA player. Can he really stink? But I let the bias of his unavailability get in the way of my logical thinking. Joel Embiid is a guy who has constantly missed games. You and I both know that, right? It seems like every year he's hurt for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think that should be able to factor in, right, to these decisions, or should it just be based off those stats?
Isn't availability a really important piece? When you're playing 38 games, like you got done talking about Anthony Davis, 38 games, 19 games, 39 games. Those are the last 3 seasons for Joel Embiid. He's never played a full season. In fact, he's never played more than 68 games in a season.
It has to matter.
Anthony Davis has done that more. If you're looking for postseason awards, and it's got to be 65 games, right? Joel Embiid has played 10 years. How many years would he have qualified? 2. 2 out of the 10 years he's been in the NBA. If he were up for an award, only 2 years he would have been available. That's how few games he's played. We'll take a quick timeout. A reminder at 8:35, Paul Woods, the Red Wings radio analyst, will join us here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Avello Airlines and AvelloAir.com.
In the Den. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings app today. Use the code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. This is Matt Shepard. Speed and smarts were the words of the night for the Tigers in the opening game of their series against the Royals. Down 1-0, Zach McKinstry led off the eighth with a double. And after advancing to third on a ground out to second, he scored on a pitch in the dirt. Now, it didn't dribble very far away from catcher Salvador Perez, but McKinstry has a high baseball IQ. He doesn't score the equalizer without a great read and a great break from third base. Two batters later, Dylan Dingler ripped a double down the left field line, and Kevin McGonigal scored from first. He doesn't plate the game-winning run without a fast read and above average speed. It was enough for Kenley Jansen to lock things down in the ninth. Look, this Tigers team won't lead the league in stolen bases, but they will take the extra base as well as anybody in baseball. That is a winning recipe in the big leagues and a 4-game winning streak for the Tigers.
Huge here for all the Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Michigan. Your home for Tigers baseball all season long. Weekday afternoon game, night games, weekends. Bring the family, friends, co-workers, neighbors in to watch the Tigers at your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Also, the Carmody brothers, who played football at Ferris State University, wanted me to remind everybody that the Ferris State football spring game is Friday night, April 24th at Top Taggart Field in Big Rapids. Kickoff at 6 p.m.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Okay, we'll get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday coming up here on X's and Bros. Welcome back on this Wednesday, April 15. It's tax day, right? 8:18 here on X's and Bros. Daniel Jeremiah, who does stuff for NFL Network, has come out with a pretty interesting statement regarding the Lions at 17. I know we always focus on the first round. I think you understand why. Many people feel like that's the most impactful, but that sets the tone. Okay, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. You know my feelings on it. If you've listened to this show long enough, you know that for me, I think you've got to get starters for this team, especially. You've got to get starters in your first few rounds. Any team, I think your first, second, and third have to be starters. Detroit's going to take 17. They're going to pick 17. They're going to pick 50th, which is the second round. Nothing in the third. Then they pick 118, 128. Those are the 2 fourth-round picks. I would package a fourth and a fifth to move up and get a third if the right player was there. And it wouldn't surprise me if Brad Holmes made deals at all. He's done that time and time again. All right. So they have 9 picks overall, 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, and 1 in the seventh. They have so many options at 17 because of their, if you go by what fans want, needs. Daniel Jeremiah said this: the 2 tackle names that came up in a lot of my conversations for the Lions, and this is probably talking with scouts and coaches and getting a projection of where every team is going to go. The 2 tackle names that keep coming up for the Lions at 17 are Caden Proctor, he's out of Alabama, and Monroe Freeling, he's out of Georgia, which I think most Lions fans would embrace. I mean, they are considered, depending on who you look at, they are considered either 3 or 4 among tackles. Tackles are deep. You got 2 kids from Utah. One is Spencer Fano, who's considered the number 1 tackle on most boards. Francis Mauioa is pretty close to that. Some boards have him number 1, durable guy. All right. But some people wonder if he'll move inside. He might be more of a guard than a tackle. That's why I say Spencer Fano is more oftentimes seen as the number 1 tackle. Monroe Freeling, pure tackle now. He's not moving inside. Pure tackle, might be the number 2 tackle. 18 starts at Georgia. He's young. He's got a really bright future, but he's got some things to learn. Caden Proctor is an absolute beast, but people worry a little bit. Scouts worry a little bit about his weight, because there were reports that at Alabama he was roughly 390 pounds and had to lose before last year, had to lose to get down to 352. But Daniel Jeremiah says those are the 2 names that keep coming up in my conversations. Those 2 players would make some sense for them with where they're picking. In other words, that is value. That's the proper value at that position of the draft. I don't even know what the question is. Full transparency here. I don't even know what the question is for fans any longer. You can't say what are their needs because there's so many. Linebacker, safety, tight end, not a starter necessarily at this stage, but safety, cornerback, linebacker, edge, tackle. Some people may not be fully comfortable with their left guard situation. Not that you would take the left guard at 17 unless Oyuanye is there. If Oyuanye is there, then you take that guy. He's that good. It would be an interesting dilemma. What if you had Messidor the edge, Oyuanye the guard, Freeling or Proctor the tackle? What if you've had any of those guys or all of those guys there for the taking? You have an edge who you really like. Most people really like. I'm using the general, right? I don't know what the Lions like and don't like, but that's the generality of it. You have that situation with the edge. You have a situation with, McCoy as a corner. What if he were there? What if you had a choice of two tackles, and what if you had the guard? Those are good problems to have, but bad problems meaning you've got so many needs, right? That would be interesting. That's what I mean when I say about best player available. When you have all those players, I'm just using those guys as examples. I don't think they're all going to be there. McCoy will be gone. Yawnye will be gone. And my guess is one of those tackles might be gone too, which would mean two teams ahead of you would be drafting tackles, or maybe even three, depending on how you look at Mauioa. That's when you're measuring the need and best player available. You're measuring those two things together. And that's where you're weighing what is most important to you. If you base that off, all those players are relatively similar on your board. They're, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you have them all graded that closely together, then you're drafting need. Now that begs this question. What is your biggest need? This is a massive draft for Brad Holmes. What is your biggest need? For every person who argues it's edge, I could argue tackle. For every person who argues tackle, you could argue corner. And for every person who argues corner, you could actually argue linebacker. Seriously, you could. I know what you've picked up in free agency. If you think you picked up a linebacker or so in free agency, I could then say to you, but look at all the secondary help they picked up in free agency too. So those are some things that I keep thinking about as the draft approaches and getting closer and closer. Final results of the poll question from yesterday. All right, we give you a poll question. It's the Mitch Lions Wealth poll question. We asked you, what are your expectations for the Pistons? One playoff series win, an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, an NBA championship series, or an NBA title?
Oh,
Andy, what do most people say?
Eastern Conference Finals, which is kind of what we came to a conclusion on. I feel like they at least had to make. That was the one that won it at 50%. One playoff series win was at 19%. That was third. NBA championship series was second at 31%, and then the NBA title was at 0%. So no one really needs them to win the title for it to be a successful year.
Good. All right. There's some reality there. I like that. We have another question for you today. Mitch Lions Well poll question. Who is the best young core in the state? Is it the Lions? And who would you consider their core? St. Brown, Gibbs, Hutchinson, Sewell, Campbell primarily, right? Jamison Williams. Red Wings, their core, it's not even young. Dylan Larkin's not young any longer. Patrick Kane's not young. Dave DeBrincat's not young. Sider, Raymond, Edvinson. Pistons core, Cunningham, Duran, Thompson, Holland. Tigers core, Keith, McGonigal. Are Green, Carpenter, and Torkelson still part of it? Dingler for sure. Job. All those things. It's a good question. One that makes you think. Go ahead and vote at XB Mornings. I've retweeted it at Shep Matt. The results come your way tomorrow. When we come back, a good friend of ours and a man who has done unbelievable work helping you envision what the Red Wings were doing the night they play. Paul Woods and his last broadcast tonight when we come back after this.
In the Den. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings app today. Use the code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. This is Matt Shepard. Speed and smarts were the words of the night for the Tigers in the opening game of their series against the Royals. Down 1-0, Zach McKinstry led off the eighth with a double. And after advancing to third on a ground out to second, he scored on a pitch in the dirt. Now, it didn't dribble very far away from catcher Salvador Perez. Now, McKinstry has a high baseball IQ. He doesn't score the equalizer without a great read and a great break from third base. Two batters later, Dylan Dingler ripped a double down the left field line, and Kevin McGonigal scored from first. He doesn't plate the game-winning run without a fast read and above-average speed. It was enough for Kenley Jansen to lock things down in the ninth. Look, this Tigers team won't lead the league in stolen bases, but they will take the extra base as well as anybody in baseball. That is a winning recipe in the big leagues and a 4-game winning streak for the Tigers.
Huge here with a message for all the golfers all across Michigan. Have you played at Crystal Mountain? Now, the resort is located in Thompsonville, Michigan, 2.5 hours northwest of Grand Rapids. They feature Mountain Ridge and Betsy Valley, two renowned 18-hole championship layouts, incredible accommodations, food, beverages, and more. It's time for you to book a stay and play package at Crystal Mountain today. Go to crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
5 after the hour, welcome back on what I would call a melancholy Wednesday, and maybe my friend can talk me down from that. Paul Woods, who played 7 years in the National Hockey League, played in Sault Ste. Marie, was a third-round draft pick in 1975, and played as a left winger for the Red Wings for 7 seasons, and then went to the broadcast booth. In 1985, they asked him to be their radio analyst, and he has been doing that job better than anybody who's ever done that job ever since. I've been fortunate because I've worked with some great people, including Paul Woods. I have never worked with a person who is more prepared. I mean, you talk about somebody who lives and breathes hockey. It is Paul Woods, and it shows every time he opens his microphone. Tonight will be the final time he opens his microphone. And Woodsy, I've got to be a little under control here, and because so many people have grown up listening to you and loving you. What's your mindset right now as you get ready for the game against the Panthers in your final radio broadcast of your career?
The kind words, coming from you, that it really means a lot to me. So thank you. But, I'm just doing what you're talking about. I'm just, going through the notes and preparing for the game and, see what happened last night and who was doing what and what's going to happen tonight. So it's sort of routine, like from your experiences. It's like a routine you get into, and I don't feel comfortable if I don't go through the routine.
So Woodsy, there's so many memories I'm sure you have, but I read some quotes recently about when people asked you, did you ever think you would be doing this? What drew you to the position in the first place, and what kept you in the role for as long as you've been there?
Well, Bruce Martin called me up and asked me if I would be interested in doing the broadcast and stuff like that, and I just I wasn't prepared for it, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just thought I'd do it for a year. Just it was something, you're involved in hockey, which was good, and but it just I just got started and working alongside him, that was a great education in itself, and it just kept going and going, and then Ken took over for Bruce, and then I think him and I have done it now for another 32 years. So I don't know, it just but you know what, it wasn't, Matt, it was a lot more than I thought it was. Like, I just thought, you just showed up and started talking and stuff, and I didn't realize about the preparation work and doing that. But again, it's just I love the game of hockey. Like, so be able to, watch hockey games and for a living, get paid for it. I'm a pretty fortunate person.
Over 3,000 games in your radio broadcast career. What do you love most about broadcasting games, and what do you love most about the game that you've been so passionate about your entire life?
Well, the game has gotten so much better, Matt. Like, rule changes, and in the NHL with the salary cap has really changed things, where all the teams for the most part are actually competitive and trying to make the playoffs, and it's just a battle, with 32 teams. So the rule changes, I think, really help. There's a lot more flow and speed to the game, and there's still lots of physical play, but it's under control now. It's not goofy like it was, in earlier days. But the game itself is outstanding, and the coaching's great now. Like in previous years, you'd have maybe half the coaches did a good job. The other ones, I'm not quite sure what they were doing, but now it's just like they're all good, and so the level of the game itself it's fun to play or fun to watch, and then I just think it's I guess for me, I guess it's just I guess for me, Matt, like when I was like 6 years old, I played in the house league in Hesper, Ontario, and my first team was my first sweater was the Detroit Red Wings, like that bright red jersey with that crest on it, and I played for 2 years with that sweater, and then to end up in Detroit, and for all these years as a player and a broadcaster with that same logo, that same thing, it's pretty remarkable. And I've never forgotten it.
The humility is pretty obvious from what I would consider a radio broadcast Hall of Famer in Paul Woods, joining us here on the day of his final radio broadcast and his illustrious career here on X's and Bros. The thing I love most about hockey players, they really are the most quote unquote normal athletes you come in contact with. They work hard. They don't look for the attaboy. They are not a me type of guy looking for the camera all the time. And yet they are also a part of a fraternity that I would argue is one of the most difficult things to do in sports, that they always talk about the toughest trophy to win. This year, this Red Wings team hasn't lived up to those expectations. What do you think the biggest issue has been with this team?
I just am really simply, I mean, we have almost, I think we're in the same sort of point totals and stuff like with the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not like we're, so far back and we had no chance. And really 2 years ago, we lost in the tiebreaker against Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're right there. Like we're not that far away. I think we got to get better though in our third and fourth lines. We got to get a little heavier. And I'd like to see like a little bit more of some physical players, on that fourth side, and some attitude adjusters, where they can put them out there and get things going if it's not going our way. So I think that would be good, but it's not going to be much. Like this is the thing what Steve Yzerman has done, and it's stuff we have lots of space on salary cap, so that's a big advantage. We've got a very productive, farm system. When our team in Grand Rapids is the best team in the American Hockey League, so we've got lots of guys and we had a couple of guys that sort of went backwards a little bit this year. Marco Kasper didn't, in my opinion, have a really good season, but that's the learning curve. Like, there's only 730 of these guys in the entire world, NHL players. They come from all over the world now. Like, it's really fiercely competitive. And once they figure you out, it's like an adjustment. Then you got to figure another way to get going again, where you put the pressure on them. So, we got Nate Danielson down there. I know Casper, like I say, is up here. Emmett Finney. I mean, it's an amazing story to be a 7th round draft pick, and he's skating on the top line with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond late in the season. Like, that's almost impossible, but he's done it. But these guys are going to be better again next year, and we've got lots of them. Brands like Nygaard, it's a learning curve for him. It's people expected more from him, and but again, it's not easy here to do it. It's fine to talk about it, but you got to go do it. So we're deep through our organization. We got defensemen, goalies, we got forwards. It's just going to keep going, and that's to say to sort of start going backwards and getting rid of all kinds of people and changing, to me, is illogical.
I like the job Todd McClellan's done, quite honestly. I know it's a hard job. Okay. I know because you love hockey so much, you heard what Rick Bowness said about Columbus last night after they lost 2-1 to Washington and only had 3 hits. He was frustrated, and he said, I'm going to change the culture if I'm back here, because they lost 6 straight at home and they lost back-to-back games to finish up the season. It's not what they wanted. So it's really hard. Sandim Pellikka is one of those guys who you said the learning curve. What's the hardest position to go from the AHL or college to the, outside of Matthew Schaefer, for crying out loud? What's that hardest position to adapt to in the National Hockey League, and how do you think they're prepared for that moving forward?
Yeah, I'd go defenseman for sure, and then center iceman. Like the job description of a center is just so, like, when everyone's coming back off an icing call, they're relaxing, they're coming back on and get lined up and take it and stuff. Not the center iceman. He's got who he's taking again. He's thinking, how do I beat this guy? And what if you lose like 4 or 5 in a row against that guy, and now you got to keep taking it against him, and it just, like, the pressure mounts. So there's no time to relax. So those two positions, and that kid there, Sandy Pellikka, I'd like to, and this is sort of like it's a tightrope you're walking on. Like, he's got to get better defensively, but the other side of the coin is the strength of his game is, like, he's one of those guys that can really hurt you in the offensive zone. So when he gets up on the play and gets that puck in the offensive zone, he can do some damage. And that, to me, is the strength of his game. Now, you got to get him tighter defensively, which is not easy in the NHL level. But again, at the same time, you got to turn that guy loose a little bit and let him do what he's good at doing.
Would you, there's always a balance in sports, not just hockey, but in sports, about the young guys coming up and the old guys who are hanging around, or the veterans, I should say, who are hanging around. If the Red Wings young group at age in Grand Rapids is so strong, why aren't they up in Detroit replacing the guys who are not playing heavy enough and the bottom 6 forwards?
Well, I'm talking about the guys like that are here now, Finney and Casper. I think those
Carter Mazer to a certain extent. Yeah.
Mazer really looked good. And again, but again, like, I think he's played like 7-8 games in NHL now. He's still looking for a point. Although we thought a couple of times he should have got a point. So I'm secretly cheering for him. He's going to get one here tonight and get his first in the NHL. But it's just another example of how hard it is. you know. And then Nate Danielson came up and he was pretty good and stuff. And then he had to go back down. But by next year, these guys have matured and now what is the most important thing is they've got the information. Now they know what they need to do to get better, to be able to be a regular player in the NHL. Now it's up to them to do that, to make that adjustment, come back in training camp. And I'm picturing them like that could become our third line, like just, you know, a line of youngsters and stuff, or younger guys and stuff. And, you know, they all have skill and they've got some size to them. But Finney, to me, is just it's really amazing what this kid has done. But again, like I said, we're not that far away. And then I'd like to see some heavy guys on the fourth line, like the Boston Bruins have. You know, yes. Kastelik had 2 goals last night. Corrali is you know, he's a tough guy to play against. Sean Corrali, Terje, like those guys, they're like Maltby, not as good as these guys, but Maltby, Draper, McCarty, Joe Kocur. Mm-hmm. Like that's what we used to throw out there to get momentum going back our way. Well, I just don't think we have that element right now.
One of my favorite parts in ever getting ready for a game, whether I was working with you doing a Red Wings game or doing a Tigers baseball game or a college basketball game, is walking into a locker room and talking to players and talking to coaches, and not always talking about the sport in general, but talking about them and getting to know them. You've gotten to know a lot of different players over your 40-plus years and seen a lot of Hall of Famers. What will you miss most about the job that you've kept so solidly for the last 40-plus years?
Yeah, it's like going through the routine, the daily routine, and then getting ready, and then, you know, puck drop or, you know, keys of a game, and going through the pregame, that part of it. And, you know, it's just the whole thing. Like, I love hockey, you know. We were in Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago. I was out there just getting a bite to eat, stuff like that. I'm in this restaurant. This guy's next to me. I have a Red Wings sort of pullover on, whatever. And he said to me, you like the Red Wings? I just looked at him for a second. I said, no. I said, I don't like them. I said, I love them. You know, and it's in like your blood, like I say. It's just to be here with one organization for this long period of time. It's just become something really special for me. And, you know, it's funny, Matt, like the first game I ever played in the NHL, or I guess I saw one rather when I was about a 14-year-old back in my hometown, Hesper, Ontario. Went to Toronto, watched the Leafs play against the Oakland Seals. And then the next game I saw in the NHL, I was playing in it for the Red Wings, like against the Maple Leafs. So it wasn't something that I had access to like, as a kid. Like their parents, you know, we could afford, you know, tickets and things like that. So, but to be playing in the NHL that day, I always remember when that whistle blew. I just said to myself, now or never, you know, and thank God it was now.
When do you recognize, I'm sure you already have, but when do you sit back and recognize how many lives you've touched, not just by the NHL, but I'm talking about fans who've lived in moments with you on a night-to-night basis throughout a hockey season?
Well, you know, I most of the time, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't sort of, I just sort of go back. I like I have memories, great memories and stuff, and it. Unfortunately, I got hurt at the end bad, so it probably, you know, I probably lost half of my career and stuff like that. But I mean, every day in the NHL is a good day, and I just, like I said, I've had so many great days and met so many great people and seen so many things and saw Stanley Cups won and you know, the effort and what those guys put into it to achieve that goal. And it's all so good. Like I say, when I was a kid growing up, I used to walk around my hometown like I was about 12 years old, and for some reason, I kept telling people I was going to play in the NHL one day, and they laughed. They thought it was the funniest thing they ever heard. But it just kept on going. I really did believe it. I just kept moving up to the next level, and then lo and behold, one day I did get to Detroit, and I'll never forget that night with you know, Detroit Olympia. There was about 16,000 fans, and they're the greatest fans in the world, and it was just the intensity of it was so great. And, you know, I never got a goal, I never got an assist, but somehow I ended up being the third star of that game, and I just it was like a dream come true.
What will you do next?
Well, I mean, I got 2 really good kids and stuff, you know, and they're adults now. They're in their 40s and stuff, but they've got kids. So I've got 4 grandkids, and I'm going to get some time in with them, and we're going to start playing some hockey and some baseball and some different other things. And so yeah, I've got I've got lots of plans, and with them involved, and then I just sit back, I guess, and just enjoy retirement. And I'm a big fisherman, so plenty of time now to take care of that. So that's another positive. But it's too early right now. I think I just I've been in Canada the last few years. My mother was we were trying to keep her in the home and stuff, and then she passed away 3 weeks ago, and so it's sort of I'm just not quite just got to get adjusted from that, and then but it'll be great. I got two really, really good kids, hardworking and honest, and they've got compassion. So I feel really comfortable with them, and it's going to be good, and the grandkids will be good. So nothing but good things ahead, Matt.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss of your mom. I know she was very proud of you, just like anybody who's ever known you, and anyone who's ever worked with you has the utmost respect and was proud to sit alongside you. As I get a little emotional here, I want to wish you the best. I hope we can stay in touch. It's been one of the biggest honors of my broadcasting career to have called a few games with you, and I know Ken Cal and Bruce Martin feel the exact same way, and every Red Wings fan out there who you have touched with your emotion and your passion for the game of hockey is better for it, as not just a Red Wing fan, but as a sports fan in general. Thank you, Paul Woods, for everything you've done.
Hey, thank you, Matt. I enjoyed my time with you too, and I really appreciate it. And thanks for the interview today, and all the best.
All right, all the best to you as well. Enjoy those grandkids because you have earned
I will.
them. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great call as always, Paul Woods.
All right, Matt.
Joining
Take care,
us
man.
here. Yep, on X's and Bros. He is he's a treasure. He really is. He's a good man. I mean, there are some people, you get in this business and you work with some people, and it's look at what I've done. Look at who I am. It's not Paul Woods. He's telling about the story of going to dinner in Philadelphia, and a guy looks at him and says, "Are you a Red Wings fan? Do you like the Red Wings?" Well, as a Red Wings fan, you should know who Paul Woods is. He's been doing it for 40 years. It's been over 4,000 games. It's a plethora of Hall of Fame players and coaches, by the way. And he's had great relationships with all of them. Sits in the same seat on the bus every single time. First game I ever called with him, I said to him, Paul, I know things are very particular in sports. I know it's a little thing, and some people may roll their eyes, but it's very true. Where do the broadcasters sit? I'll help you when you get on, Matt. First bus is this time. He's the first guy on the bus. And he says, Matt, sit right here. That's what I do. And we talk all the way to the arena. And we just had an absolute blast calling the game. I did, anyway. And he was so helpful. He's such a good person. And he's going to be missed because he's done a hell of a job. Our thanks to Paul Woods for all the memories he's given us. And hopefully he gives us one more here tonight as the Red Wings take on Florida. Thanks to you for giving us a little bit of your time on this Wednesday morning. We're back with you tomorrow morning on X's and Bros at 6 o'clock. Don't forget the huge show later on today from 3 until 7. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan on the east side of the state.